Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings has taken the MCU into the realm of Eastern China, exploring East Asia cultures and practices, as well as casting their very first Asian lead, Simu Liu. One of the major themes of the film was that of the Great Protector, a grand dragon who protected the small town of Ta Lo and served as a guardian and symbol to its people. For this video, we will be delving into some of the legends and mythology behind the symbol of the dragon, as well as the importance it has to the Chinese culture and some of the most fascinating dragon types as depicted in the vast history and mythology of China. A few disclaimers before we begin the video. The first is that while these sources have been heavily vetted, and we believe it provides the best quality information, neither I nor the writer of this video is of Chinese heritage. We are attempting to convey the information and legacy of these practices in a way that maintains respect for a culture that we ourselves do not belong to, and we are doing so to the best of our ability. But if one of you wonderful viewers finds something that is incorrect or disrespectful within this video, please let us know. As well as please grant us some leniency on pronunciation. With that out of the way, let's delve straight into it. While the origin of this very first story regarding dragons is widely disputed, many historical scholars seem to agree that it dates back to at least 3000 BCE, if not even further than that, and some of the individual stories vary by tradition. The first theory is that the Chinese people may have combined certain favorable attributes of several animals into one form as multiple tribes began to assemble into a larger collective. According to this historical interpretation, the sacred symbolic animals of each joining tribe would be combined into one form, taking physical characteristics from animals such as eagles, snakes, tigers, and carp, and these practices may have been utilized in totem worshipping rituals. One of the more widely accepted theories where dragons come from and originate centers around a famed leader of the Yan dynasty known as Yandi, the Flame Emperor. It is important to note that before we get into the story of Yandi, that some historical scholars believe that Yandi not only to be an individual, but instead a title that was passed down from one Flame Emperor to another. The story of Yandi tales back to the pre-dynastic times, and the story goes that Yandi was born with a telepathic bond with his mother, shared with a mighty dragon, granting him strengths and attributes far beyond that of an average man. This event would become an eventual precursor to the modern Chinese culture, as he, in tandem with the Emperor Hongdi, otherwise known as the Yellow Emperor, would traverse the land, conquering their enemies and uniting their regions into the territory that would later become known as China. This eventually resulted in many individuals of Chinese heritage regarding themselves as descendants of Yandi, and by extension the Chinese dragon, a practice which largely encompasses much of the modern Chinese population. And while Yandi would later be defeated by the Yellow Emperor, his legacy would carry on for generations to come. From there on out, the dragon would become an immensely important symbol of status, power, and protection among the Chinese people. But the types and numbers of different unique dragons would continue to grow until no less than 4 distinct types of dragons were common knowledge among the Chinese culture. Some interpretations believe in as many as 9 different types of dragons, but in our research, these 4 seem to be at the epicenter of the most sources that we've studied. Some regarded these as the only 4, while others include them in a longer list. But for now, we'll be covering these principal 4 dragons. The celestial dragon, most often known as Shenlong, was the guardian of the heavens. He would reside in the sky and act as a gatekeeper of the gods and the guardian of the heavenly realm. Much like Yandi, some sources refer to Shenlong as an individual, while others refer to him as a title for multiple sky dragons, but we will leave this distinction up to you as the viewer. Shenlong is often regarded as the dragon of the hidden treasure. He is the inspiration behind the tales of a dragon who would reside deep in caves and caverns, often guarding hoards of treasures and trinkets. And according to some interpretations, Shenlong's ascension into the sky to meet with his celestial brethren was the direct catalyst for the formation of volcanoes. Dailong is known most often as the dragon of earth or the underworld, and Dailong is the dragon who controls the flows of rivers and streams. While dragons in Western culture are seen as symbols of destruction that ravage their landscapes, Eastern cultures often depict dragons in a much closer form to that of Dailong, in that they are much calmer, wiser, and benevolent. The 4th dragon that we'll be discussing is Shenlong. Shenlong is typically depicted as controlling the rainfall and the clouds, and is often the dragon responsible for crop fertilization and overall generosity. And while many of these dragons were often depicted as benevolent and life-giving, they would still go on to become symbols of emperors, and one of the premier symbols of Chinese nationality. These dragons would be worshipped by the ancient Chinese people, and are still widely regarded as highly significant cultural symbols to this day, with the Chinese New Year often starting with the dragon dance in order to pray for prosperity. Farmers, especially in older time periods, would pray specifically to dragons, hoping for plentiful rainfall to come from the heavens and bless them with a bountiful harvest for the coming growing season. And many even believed that the dragons were directly capable of protecting their lands. For centuries, these dragons have been symbols of kindness, fortune, and nobility for many of these Chinese people. And while bits of this culture are now making their way into the MCU with the release of Shang-CHI, many fascinating aspects still remain unseen by most of the Western audience. Therefore, we hope that we can teach you a bit about the culture and heritage of Shang-CHI. But again, we ourselves are not of Chinese heritage, and this video was compiled by devoted, credible researchers, so if anything in this video is viewed as incorrect, please let us know. But anyway, my friends, what do you think of this latest installment of the Real World Marvel series? Did you find this information interesting? And if so, what else would you like to see covered in the future of this series? Also, did you know about some of the history of the Chinese dragon, and the 4 specific types and variations of the Chinese dragon? Also, what did you think of the Great Protector as seen in Shang-CHI? As always, my friends, hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.